Welcome to this channel once again, and in this video we'll be learning now how can we implement user state hook. Okay. In the last video we discussed what is user state hook, उसका structure क्या होता है, वो किस type के parameters लेता है, किस तरह से function के अंदर parameters return करता है, एक variable return करता है, it also returns your function which will help you to update your state variable, right? Now in this video we'll be learning how can we utilize that user state hook inside our code. But before we start writing down our code, you'll have to very first thing that you'll have to do is that you will have to set up your system so that you can start working with React.js, right? तो आपको अपना system setup करना होगा. You'll have to set up and install Node.js. You'll have to install a code editor जिसमें आप अपना code लिखोगे, and then you'll have to create your first React project. So to cover all these topics, I've created one video and I will be adding that video inside the description box. So please check that before you starting with this video. But if you already have the React project set up ready with you, then you can continue with this video only. So in this video, we'll be learning about how can we implement user state hook. Okay. So in this video, first of all, I have created one React project over here, which looks something like this. Whenever you will be creating your first React project, any React project, it will look something like this only, okay? Where your application app.js file will be looking like this. It will be having some predefined code it will already be having, which will be basically responsible for all this code, okay? So before we start with this, so we need to first of all clean all this code so that we can start with our own code, okay? So what I'll do is that I'll go inside the source folder. I'll create one components folder. So these are known as naming conventions. I'll create one components folder, and inside this components folder, I'll create another file. And inside that file, we'll try to understand all the different case scenarios for the user state hook. So for example, if I create a file and give it name as test.js, you have to always make sure that you're keeping the first letter as capital, okay? How we can start writing down this file is that we'll have to first of all import React from React module. Okay, React module. Then we need to define a functional component over here. Always remember, all the hooks are a part of a functional component, not the class-based components. Okay, in the class-based components, you will be creating a state variables inside your constructor function. But now the class-based components are not that very important. We are not using them that much. So function and then test. So I will be writing down a normal function only like this, and then at the last I will be exporting this function over here. So you need to make sure that whatever the component that you are creating over here, that you need to export that component. Either you export it like a named export or you export it by the default export. Okay. Then inside this one, I'll write down a return function. This return function will basically be responsible to return your HTML. Okay. So for example, I'll create a div element. Inside this div element, I'll write down one h1 tag and I'll just write down that this is my test component. Simple. Very simple structure of one component. Like import React, first of all, create a functional component and then export that function. Okay, inside that function, I will write down just a simple text to check like if my component वो आराम से रेंडर कर रहा है स्क्रीन पर या नहीं. अब मैं अपनी app.js फाइल में जाऊँगी. And basically what I will do is that I will import this component over here inside this. I'll get rid of everything over here. I'll write down this angular bracket and then test over here that is present inside my /component and then test. You can see my cursor over here, right? So this test component will be rendered. So I'll have to do this enter so that my import statement can also come over here. And then I will close these brackets. I'll remove this logo because it was coming because of that earlier code. I'll come back to my localhost 3000 and my test component is properly coming and it is getting properly loaded. So my component is set up now. So I will start making changes inside my test component now. So you should also remember this thing that do not make changes inside your app component. App component is quite a master component and you should always be collecting your components and keeping inside your app.js. App.js and index.js, these are not the files where you should be writing down code in order to create the state. आपको state नहीं create करना चाहिए वहाँ पे. You should not be manipulating your state variables and all over there. rather than आप कोई और component create करो, उसमें state variables डालो और फिर उस component को app component में render कर लो. Okay. So we are over here now inside this app.js component. Inside this one, to create a use state hook now, or to start by creating a state variable, you will have to, very first thing is that you will have to import the use state hook. Okay. Remember this thing, that use state hook. Before I do this part, I'll show you another thing, is that, for example, how can I create it? Like, for example, I'll create as number and set number. Okay, like this, and then I will write down. So how can I write down as a use state hook? I can write down react dot use state over here. Okay, which means the React module that I have imported from this React module over here, the one React that I have imported, I can have my use state written down like this also, that I'm utilizing use state from this React module. Okay. Instead of writing it like this also, how I can do it is that I can add over here, like I'm importing use state as a named import. Okay. So I don't have to write down this thing like this now. Okay. I can directly say use state, and then I can pass my initial value over here. For example, if I pass down as 10 value over here. This is how I have created my state variable. This is my state variable. This is my updater function of the state variable, और ये उसका initial value हो गया. Okay, like this. Now, how can I print this state variable? I'll write down over here as some h3, some random heading tag or some heading tags I'm using. State variables value, state variable value. एंड देन जब भी आपको कोई डायनेमिक और जावास्क्रिप्ट के वेरिएबल्स का वैल्यू को यूटिलाइज करना है, यू विल हैव टू राइट डाउन दीज कर्ली ब्रैकेट्स एंड देन आई विल राइट डाउन नम ओवर हियर. सेव द फाइल एंड कैन यू सी द वैल्यू कमिंग ओवर हियर, दैट इज 10. तो आपका वैल्यू यहाँ पर 10 विजिबल है, विच मीन्स ये हमारा हेडिंग है जो हम लोगों ने h1 लिखा, और ये हम लोगों का स्टेट वेरिएबल वैल्यू है जो कि 10 है यहाँ पे. Okay. Now the next part is that how can I update this state variable value, right? So for example, if I create a button over here, I'll write down that button name as update number. Okay, like this. So my button has been created now and its name is update number. The moment I will click on this button, my number should be updated, or I can say it should be incremented, or any change I want to make inside my number now. Okay. So first of all is that I'll have to handle its event, right? If you have read inside JavaScript, we have something which is known as event handlers. Events क्या होते हैं आपके, like for example, जब आप किसी website पे जाते हो, जो भी movements that we do on as a user, that we do on a website, like आप किसी बटन पे क्लिक करते हो, आप कहीं पे स्क्रॉल करते हो, आप कहीं पे होवर करते हो, ये सब चीज़ें आपकी इवेंट्स होती हैं. तो बाय यूजिंग द वेबसाइट वी कैन बेसिकली ट्रैक दीज इवेंट्स, कि अगर कोई क्लिक करता है तो हम उसके ऊपर क्या एक्शन ले सकते हैं, राइट, ऑल दीज थिंग्स. For example, अभी जैसे हम चाहते, like we want that when we click on the button, we want our number to be changed something to something. You know? So I'll say on click and then I'll define a function कि हम उसको किस तरह से change करना चाहते हैं. So handle change, like this. I'll define a function over here. So this is something which is I'm calling a function, and then over here outside the return function I will define the function also. So I'll say function handle change and then function definition will start over here. अब आपको function की definition को write down करना है, so you can say set num and then over here आपको जिस भी values update करना है. For example, आपका value है 10 है currently and you want to update it to 15. For example, you want to update to 15. Save the values inside my set num function. I'll write down my set num function. इस function में आपको वो value pass करनी है जिस value से आपको state variable को update करना है. Okay, so I'll just pass down 15 over here. I'll save my page and everything. The moment I will click on this one, then my state variable value will be updated. Since my state variable value is getting updated, so definitely our component page, our browser page will get re-rendered. Re-rendered क्यों होता है? Because state variables उसको force करते हैं re-render करने पे. If you are creating a normal variable or anything, तो आपका पेज री रेंडर नहीं करेगा. वैल्यू अपडेट होगा, डेफिनेटली वैल्यू विल गेट अपडेटेड, बट द पेज विल नॉट गेट री रेंडर्ड. ओके, दिस इज द डिफरेंस दैट वी अंडरस्टूड इन द प्रीवियस वीडियो, like what is the difference between variable versus state variable. So this is how we can update our variables value like this. Now over here we took an example of a number, so you can pass different type of values inside this one. Currently we passed a numeric value. हम लोग एक और एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं जिसके अंदर we will pass one string value. So for example const name comma set name and then use state, and then for example I pass over here John as my another variable value. Okay, I will copy this one line and then I will bring it over here. State variable value, state num variable value, state name variable value. Okay, and now instead of having num over here, what should I be writing now? Name, right? So I will write down over here. So now my name variable value, state variable value is coming. यहाँ पे मेरे को जॉन ये प्रिंट कर रहा है, इसका मतलब मैंने अपना ये जो स्टेट वेरिएबल है वो प्रॉपर्ली क्रिएट किया है और यहाँ पर नेम प्रिंट हो रहा है. नाउ अगेन इफ आई वांट टू अपडेट दिस स्टेट वेरिएबल वैल्यू, मैं कैसे अपडेट कर सकती हूँ? वही सेम फंक्शन, यू कैन राइट डाउन सम on click and then you can handle change and then you can call set name function over there. I will once again explain this thing. For example आपने यहाँ पे बटन क्रिएट किया है, button click, on click, handle change name like this, update name like this over here, and then I will write down function handle change name over here. So the thing over here is that normally if you want to update, like for example this is, I will write down as do, some other name that you are having. Okay, so now I'm getting this update name, so your name is getting updated. Okay, so that's all for this video. In the next video we'll be understanding that sometimes we don't even have to write down separate functions to update our state variable. You can see over here that we wrote down two functions inside which we are writing actually only one single line of code. So हम लोग को एक सिंगल लाइन ऑफ कोड लिखने के लिए 3 लाइन्स ऑफ कोड और 3 लाइन्स ऑफ फंक्शन लिखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. हम लोग वो सेम वन सिंगल लाइन ऑफ कोड इसी फंक्शन के अंदर इसी लाइन में लाइन नंबर 19 पर भी कर सकते हैं. So we'll be checking that thing in the next video. Till then, thank you so much.